person who just like,
Say it again.
para quien le dio el resultado, ¿qué te dio a la 3?
I'm doing it right now, te voy a decir.
Ok.
1061.208.
So you would do 1,000
Sí,
times 1.02 to the 3 is like that.
Yeah, and it me dio, I got that result multiplying 1040.4 times 1.02. That was the 1000.
Yeah, because they're the same thing, but the point is that we're looking at the pattern to fit it
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
formula.
For
We
sure,
need the pattern for the formula.
for sure. That is true. All
Okay.
right.
All right. So now this is a growing annuity. If you remember, the cash flows for the growing annuity look like this: C1 plus G, C1 1 plus G square, C1 1 plus GQ, C1 1 plus G4, C1 1 plus G5. So how I can see here that my first cash flow for the formula has to be this one. And the G is 2. So in other words, the growth is inflation, right? So you should be able to do that now. So use this with the nominal rate. Okay, you need to use the rate given here. The nominal rate, the inflation rate is 2 or G, and this is your first cash flow. So you should put it into the growing annuity formula. Try that. I am going to go get, what am I getting? Oh, I have to turn my fan on. You guys work on that. Okay. So the growing annuity formula is, again, PV0. And the rule is when you have nominal cash flows, you use the nominal rate of interest or discount rate. So we're going to put C1, which is 1,000, 1.02, and then I minus G, but we're going to use the nominal rate, which is actually, we have it, it's 0.05, 0.08, sorry, 0.08, minus G, and G is 0.02 because it's just pi, 1 minus 1 plus G, which is 1.02, divided by 1 plus I, which is 1.08, to the power of 6. And we put that in our calculator, and we should get the exact same answer that we got in part A. So I will put that, I will punch that in. Beginning here, 1.02 over 1.08, 1.02 divided by 1.08 is this, to the power of 6 equals, change the sign and add 1 equals, multiply by 1,000 times 1.02 divided by, and the bottom is 6%. And there you go. The exact same answer. If you do anything wrong here, if you don't make the conversion with the growth rate, or if you use the wrong formula, or if you, what else? Yeah, if you round the amount here, well, we won't change too much. This one you really can't screw up. But if you take the wrong formula, you're not going to get the same answer, but you should technically get the same answer. Okay, so we have two formulas. The principle that real cash flows are evaluated with the real rate and nominal cash flows with the nominal rate. And we can do part one. These amounts represent how much you should have in your pocket in order to buy that iPad at any point in time. Maintaining that your purchasing power was $1,000 in real dollars, or in terms of an actual product, it's an iPad. You have the equivalent purchasing power as an iPad in every year. This is how pensions are received if they're indexed for inflation. People get an adjustment for rising prices. Okay, any questions about this? Everyone can get it? All right. Let's do the second part. Is everybody up to date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The rest of you? All right. So, I mean, you got to do this. It's been 3 months. If you've not done this problem before, and I'm doing it for you now, please do it with me, because it's way overtime, way overdue that you understand how to do this. Because you can see there were problems on inflation in the review for Unit 5. And you can also expect it on the final exam. Oh, I covered up this with, let's see if I can move this. Oh, it moves. Okay. Okay, so now suppose that the real discount rate is 5% and expected inflation is 1%. Determine the present value of 5 payments of $500 that are nominal cash flows, with the first cash flow coming in 1 year. So this is like an inverted version of the top, right? So in the first question, I gave you the purchasing power of $1,000 every year, and I called them real cash flows. Now I'm just giving you regular money, but in the presence of inflation, it means that you're going to lose purchasing power. So that's what we're going to capture here. How do we deal with that in terms of calculating the present value amounts? So let's draw this out. No, I'm not doing this right. 5. Oh, I always make a mistake somewhere. All right, so $500 every year And these are now nominal cash flows. So with nominal cash flows, you need to use the nominal rate. So what's the nominal rate? Noelia, what's the nominal rate? Patricia, what's the nominal rate? Joshua, what's the nominal rate?
Is it the 5%?
No, because it says that's the real rate. So how do we find the nominal rate?
So it's a discount rate minus the inflation.
No. Formula number 1. Oops.
So it would be 5%.
Nope. Sorry, I'm having trouble. I'm just gonna rewrite it for goodness sakes.
I got 6.05%.
Right. So you have to use the relationship 1 plus Rn equals 1 plus RR times 1 plus pi. So you got to put in the real rate 1.05 and then the inflation rate 1.01 to find minus the principal for every dollar invested or for every dollar. The nominal rate is calculated from here. And when you calculate it, who was telling me the answer? Is that
6.05. Freddie.
Ready?
Yes.
So it's 6.05%. Okay, so that's number 1. The formula number 1 you had to use to find it. So what did we do? We had to add the inflation to the real rate to get the nominal rate. Now we have the rate that we should use with these amounts. And you're going to do that with the regular annuity formula because that's what it looks like, a regular annuity and the nominal rate. So all of this is straightforward so far. Move this down. Okay, so the regular annuity formula with 500 over the 0.0605. Now I didn't have to do anything like storing that because it's easy and it has no decimals, right? It's just like that. Turns out, so I didn't have to store it. But that, it should give me the answer. So I put in 500 into N, 6.05 into interest. PV is what I want. Why did I put 500? You guys didn't stop me, sorry. 5, not 500 into N. 500 into PMT. And 0 into FV. And compute PV. And what do you get?
2,103 with 32 cents.
Got the
Okay.
same answer.
Okay, Joshua, thank you. Okay. Any questions? Everyone can get it? Do I need to punch it? Let's see if I punch it in. N is 5. 6.05 is interest. PMT is 500. 0 is future value. And that's the answer. It's a negative because if I'm to receive $500, then I have to pay 2,103 immediately.
So I have a question. If we were to do this with the growing annuity formula, like in the first problem, it would give us the same answer, just like the same
No,
problem.
no. Well, the next part, we're going to use the growing, but we can't do it with the growing. Because this pattern is for a
Okay.
regular, right? This pattern was for growing.
Mhm.
This pattern was for a regular. So that's why we're doing different formulas. All right, so
Okay.
we're looking at
Okay.
the pattern, and the pattern is telling us which formula to use. If we have real amounts, we have to use the real interest rate or discount rate. If we have nominal amounts, we use the nominal rate, but it's the pattern that dictates which formula we use. It's a good question. Thank you. Okay, let's look at the next one. Unless people have questions or having trouble getting the answer, I think that was straightforward. So the next part is the remaining part to look at. Yeah, we've almost spent an hour. Okay, so yeah, it's typical. This problem takes a while. So let's draw this one. It says, show how you get the same results with the growing annuity, but the real amounts. So what will the real amounts look like? If I'm getting $500 at the end of every period, and there's
Multiplied
inflation.
by the inflation.
Well, in this case, I'm getting $500 in my pocket every period, at the end of every period, and there's inflation. So what happens to my purchasing power?
Goes down.
Excellent.
Increases.
It goes down. So I don't multiply. I'm going to have to divide. But you're on
Okay,
the
got
right
it.
track, right? So we're
Okay.
going to use the
Yeah.
same formula as before. So remember the formula that I was using, that nominal rate, nominal cash flows, C for cash flow, are equal to the real cash flows, at any period times or adjusted for inflation for the number of periods. But now I want the real ones. I don't want the nominal ones. So I have to deflate the amounts. So it's this way, or if I want to get the real amounts, I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, so that will give me the real amounts. For every period, I have to deflate it as many periods as there are inflation. But it comes from the same relationship. This is still the formula number 2. Which I'm going to shrink because it takes up all my space. so let's draw the timeline so we can stare at it. It's very important to look at the pattern to apply the formula, right? We have to examine the pattern. That didn't work. And let's do that. Ah. One more time. Where's my line? Okay. Okay. That means that I have to take the 500 because one period of inflation passed. This is going to be deflated like that. Does everybody agree? So how much is it? 495. How much is it, Christian? 400.
495.05.
Okay, so if you round it to dollars, that's what it would be. But you should always use this fraction just to avoid if you don't want to lose any decimal places. Okay, very good. Thank you, Christian. So then 500, 1.01, and I have to put a square, right? And then the next one is 500, 1.01 cubed, and 500, 1.014, and 500, 1.015. All right, but now we have to find a pattern because we're told to use the growing annuity. Let's review what is what's in the formula for a growing annuity. The growing annuity formula is PV0 is equal to C1. So I need C1. So C1 would be this one, or I think we have to use this one to avoid if there's any decimals, I don't even know. But you don't want to round it. So you want to use that in general. And then it's I minus G. So these are real cash flows. We've converted them to real. So we have to use the real rate. We want to use the real rate with them. So we'd have to use the real rate. Do we have the real rate? We do, right? From the first part?
Yes, above.
It was
Yeah.
5%. It was 5% in here?
Yes.
Okay. So. And then G. What I'm going to do is just put the symbols for now. So this is going to be the real rate minus G, 1 minus 1 plus G, 1 plus RR, all to the power of 5. That's what I have to get. So I know the first cash flow, it's given here. And I know that R is 5%. All I need is G. So what is the G? Is it clear what the G is? Antonio, do you see the G? Alejandra, You see the G?
I'm not sure, but I believe like it's the discount.
You think, well, it's not 5. Like this one is gonna be 5. So it's not that. So what's G? So let's remember what is a G in the formula. So it should look like, let's review what the pattern should be.
Isn't it 0.01?
All right, so we're getting somewhere. That's Catalina, right?
No, Elizabeth.
I said?
Elizabeth.
Oh, Elizabeth, okay. Ah, sorry. Look what it says here, Elizabeth. So the sentiment is, it has something to do with inflation, but it's the opposite because we're deflating. So maybe it's -1, and you're saying it like has something to do with 1%, but it's not. It's very close, but it's not, because it's not just the opposite of inflation growth. We have it because of the factors, because it's multiplicative here as a factor, it's divided. It's not, yeah. So we got to figure it out. It's not exactly 1%, but we're going to figure out what it is. Thank you for the suggestion. So we have to remember the pattern of the growing annuity was like this, remember? So C1 is this one. We agree that's C1. The second cash flow should be C1, 1 plus G. How do I see where the G is in here? So let me see. I'm going to move this. I'm going to
I
move the
think
formula.
I think it's 1 divided by 1.01.
Yes. Let me move all these things. I'm going to put it here. Ah, it didn't work. Okay, I'm just going to erase it and I'll rewrite it because I need the space. And I also have to white this out because you know how it goes. And I'll explain what Freddie said. So this is going to be, we agreed this is C1. The next one needs to be C1, 1 plus G. So what I'm going to do is extract the C1 and move the other part over here, you see? And then for C2 or C3, I'm going to do the same thing. You see? So there's there's 2 in here. There's 2 deflations. So I'm going to use one under the 500 and one separate. So that means that this is C1, but this is 1 plus G. And here we get our third formula. Our third formula is, this is bothering me. Our third formula looks like, oh my goodness, me and my adjustments. Okay, 1 plus G is equal to 1 over 1 plus pi. This is our third formula that you should put on your formula sheet, but you need to know when to use it. You use this when we're going from nominal cash flows and a state of inflation to real cash flows. And there's deflation. It means that the growth rate is the inverse of 1 plus inflation. It's not just the negative inflation. Okay. So you'll see that this will turn out to be a negative number because of this 1 over here. All right, so let me just add on for people who are still not seeing it. So this one would have been 1 plus g squared. So that, in general, this is our third formula. So you can solve that. So 1 plus g is equal to 1.01. So g is equal to 1 over 1.01 minus 1. What do you get? So this is the diminishing rate or the erosion factor of your money. This is the rate at which it diminishes.
It's negative.
Right, it's negative. Yep. And then
It's 0.00990099.
exactly. So it goes and goes and goes. So you're going to store it. Store 1. And now you're going to use it. Okay, so it's a really messy number. You don't want to write it out. You want to use the storage keys. And what number are we trying to get again? It was 1,000. Let's go back and see. We want to get $2,103.32, right? That's our final answer that we're looking for. And you're going to feel very satisfied to see that you're going to get the exact same answer if you do this right. You're going to get the same answer using the growing annuity formula with the real amounts in the real rate. So that's going to be PV0 equals C1, which was 500 divided by 1.01 divided by I minus G. So it's 0.05 minus G. I'm just going to put G. I'm not going to make a mess. And then I'm going to write 1 plus G. Notice over here, this is a negative, G is a negative. So it's going to be added in the end here, but just be careful when you get to that step. I'll do it as well with you. So this is going to be 1.05 to the power of 5 and close bracket. So you can put this in brackets, or you just see that you don't have to because it's all being multiplied or divided. So let me do this alongside you. So I'll do it and then you guys can try it. So I start in the brackets. Oh, first I have to make my G. 1 over 1.01. What the heck? 1 divided by, or 1.01 flipped. That's the number. And it's rounding here. So I'm going to store that in 1. I have to minus 1, right? So 1, I got to do this again. 1.01 flipped minus 1 and store that. Store 1. Right. That's my G. Then inside of the brackets, I begin here. So it's 1 plus, recall 1, equals, divided by 1.05 equals, to the power of 5 equals, negative plus 1 equals, times 500 divided by 1.01, and then divided by, use a bracket, 0.05 minus, recall 1, close bracket equals. Well, I did it wrong. All right, let's try it again. Did I miss something? The powers? What did I miss? Okay, so let's try it again. So 1 plus recall 1 equals, divided by 1.05 equals, to the power of 5 equals, negative plus 1 equals, times 500 divided by 1.01 equals, divided by bracket 0.05 minus recall 1 close bracket equals. There you go. I don't know. I did something at the end wrong, but that's right now. And that's the number. $2,103.32. So now you try it. $0.32. 32 cents. Okay, so that took most of the class. Questions, comments? Do you finally understand this exercise? Did you understand it before? Do you understand it better now?
Thank you. I understand it better now, but I have a question regarding the growth. So we use that formula when we're trying to change from nominal cash flows to real cash flows while deflating.
Yeah, so from nominal to real when in the presence of inflation. Yes.
Okay, so it could be deflating or inflating. O sea,
Just
is it-
whatever
we
the
do-
inflation, if there's inflation, you use that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, if there's inflation, you will use that when you're trying to get the real. Well, you can calculate the real ones. We did it. The question was
Mhm.
if you want the present value of future cash flows that are real, and there's inflation. Yeah, so this is just for real cash flows, and it's rare somebody's going to ask you that, but you need to have this skill because I mean this is important. People like to see numbers. The main thing about this is that it has a base year, like year one, and I get to know. I get to compare it, across, and actually, it's better if I show you up here. So the fact that these are nominal. With inflation, the real value is going down. So we've captured that here. And then if someone gives you the real cash flows, you need the real rate to find the present value of those future cash flows. Basically, that's it. And to know the growth rate for the formula, that's the formula you use, number 3. Okay.
Okay, so in problem 2, problem 2, part B, we didn't use it because we were trying to find the nominal amounts. So that's why we use like the simple I minus G.
What do you mean we didn't use it?
The problem 1,
Oh,
part
okay,
B.
okay, yeah. In the
Yeah.
first one, let's connect what happened here. So here in the real amounts, the pattern didn't change because the real amounts remained fixed. So here, that's exactly the point. In the first one, the real amounts were fixed, they weren't changing. That's why we used the regular annuity. But in part 2, the real amounts are changing. They're actually going down because we were not indexed for inflation. These are just nominal dollars and nobody cared to adjust them for inflation. So we lose, and that's why they're changing. But here we didn't have to because they weren't changing. They were all the same. So real amounts given to you that are the same, basically they maintain purchasing power and they don't change. Real amounts that are changing, you have to use the growth. If there's a pattern, you have to use the growth rate and the growing annuity formula. Am I explaining myself? So it's all based on the fact that this is the best case scenario. You can think of it that way, that someone gives you money indexing for inflation. So the real amounts stay the same. But usually it's not that case.
Okay, okay, so I understand that, and in the problem, okay, and we know that because in the problem, like the keywords, like
Yeah,
obviously the pattern, but also with the keywords.
with the keywords, yeah. And there's problems
Okay.
like this in the review, right? You had for the review for test 3, there were problems on inflation and nominal and real. So you got to practice, but I think this is the best example to put everything on one page. So if you're not indexed for inflation, you're losing. That's basically the takeaway here. The cash flows go down and you're experiencing a negative growth. Your cash flows are experiencing a negative growth. And that's the inverse of the inflation factor, the deflation factor, in other words. One over 1 plus pi. Okay, so what I need you guys to do is review this and be confident about it. Okay, sorry, I'm going in and out. I don't know if you want, well, you have the clave, it's all written, typed nicely, but there's a lot of stuff that's not there. The timeline and the progression of why I did what I did. So the timelines are really important here. So make sure you have them drawn properly for reference. What other types of things do you want me to work on? Well, I think you guys need help with interest rate conversions and solving some problems. So what I'm going to do is put some extra problems into unit 1, or no, I'll put them in unit 2. I'll put them in both places in case you can't find them in one. I'll put this video up there as well after discounting and inflation. So you guys can have some practice problems to review unit 1 and unit 2, but you have that extra material for unit 6 that you got to work on. And just in general, review for the test. The test I explained will have a little bit of everything. And you have to complete it in 1 hour and 20 minutes, so I can't ask you too many things. But yeah, you have to know everything, all the basics. So next week, I will meet with you if you want your test back during the lunch hour, or if you want to come during the class time, I'll do another virtual meeting and I'll just do these problems. You don't have to attend, but I recommend it so that you can have a place to reconnect and review your unit 1 and unit 2 with some help. If there are particular problems you want me to do, send them to me in advance. So if you don't attend, whatever the case, I can review them. If you do attend, I can prioritize them. It will be during the class time, Catalina. It'll be during the class time on Tuesday, just like we did here. You can either come to the class or join virtual in the same Zoom link.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. So we're going to continue with questions from unit 1 and unit 2. Make some more videos. Because I noticed that this video, I don't have it for 3106. I must have solved this. Either I lost the video, because sometimes, I don't know, I didn't save it, or I lost it, I'm not sure. And you didn't have the video for this on the platform. So that's why I decided to do it today, because I think it's really important. I don't think this is straightforward, even if you read the clave. What do you think?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Will these notes will be uploaded to Moodle?
These notes, this page?
Yeah.
Well, the clave is already there. The clave is already there for this, and I'll post the video so you can just get it from the video, take a screenshot. I mean, I guess I can put this page up just so it's not perfect. It's so big. But yeah. Okay. So we're going to do that. Everybody's good? No questions for me? So have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a great holiday. I'm sure you guys, some of you are already on holidays. Thank you for joining. I hope it helped. Keep studying. The final test is in 2 weeks. And it should be straightforward if you just keep studying. And asking me when you're stuck. All right, not wasting time. All right. Felicidades.
Thank you, you too. Have a
Thank
good
you, Professor. You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Happy
Gracias.
Thanksgiving.